Welcome back into the Batify podcast. This is Travis Creasy, along with my partner in crime, Ben Hayes.
What's happening?
And we are very excited today to have a guest that we've been looking forward to talking to, Nathan Pirtle. How you doing, man?
I'm here. I'm doing good. Excited to be here.
That's awesome. Well, like I said, we're excited to have you, and we've got a few questions for you, and obviously we'll just go ahead and get started. And what we like to do with, and what I love about this podcast is it kind of forces me to deal with things and wrestle with things and grow in my faith through our interviews with people of things that they're having to deal with and struggle through and wrestle with. And you talked about your reaction, kind of talked about getting the news and one of our, what was your reaction to the challenge? Mine was, as long as there's a plan, I'm okay. It was kind of like, as long as there's a plan, there's a next step. I know people told me, my wife's told me, I just don't know how you did it. And I was like, well, it was the plan that I had. That was all there is. There is no other choice. So let's just do it and get it going.
Yeah.
So what was your reaction? And then obviously your wife's reaction, if you feel comfortable sharing that, to when you really kind of understood what this challenge meant.
Well, once again, for my wife to have gotten the news before me, I guess you could say, before I wake up before surgery, and then for her to have been the one who, looked for the right opportunity to break that news to me, that, hey, they had to cancel your surgery mid-surgery and they weren't able to do because it could be cancer, her, she thinking about how strong she was in that situation, but then whenever she shared the news for me, it was like I started thinking, and I'm being honest, and I'm not at all trying to say I'm doing everything right or, but I started thinking in my mind of how God would use this.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just started going through my mind, like what kind of influence will this give me, or what kind of opportunities will this put before me, or what, and it wasn't like, okay, I've got this. And yeah, Travis, you talked about the plan and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that at times, when I was fighting the insurance and stuff like that, man, anxiety was getting to me. But at the same time, I kept having people tell me, you got to take this in your own hands. Like you've got to be forward with your doctors, your insurance, and you got to be in control and I guess be more forceful in trying to get people to do things and hurry up things. And so, but at the same time, when I couldn't see a plan, that's when God would show up and be like, just, it was almost like he would say, okay, just settle down. I got this,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, but my initial reaction, I mean, just going back, thinking about my initial reaction, I mean, obviously we were in tears, but I looked at my wife and I just told her, I said, for some reason, I feel like this is what's supposed to happen. I don't know why. I told her, I said, because of prayers that I'd prayed before. You know what I mean? Like, I had prayed for God to give me wisdom or give me greater influence, or I'd prayed for God to allow me to reach certain people. And it was almost like, through the diagnosis, he was giving me a window or a door to reach people that I'd never be able to reach. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so that was really my initial thought, is like, man, I'm going to have a greater opportunity to bring people to the Lord through this.
I've commented a lot of times and probably done it on this podcast before, but, one of the things that's amazing to me is how, well, I guess it's amazing, but It's the fact that, all the stories in the Bible and most of the stories that inspire us outside of the Bible are not from people who have not been through something. They're from people who have faced trials and faced struggles and come out on the other side. And even in Hebrews 11, I'm always reminded that, there were some at the end of Hebrews 11 that didn't live through what they went through, but they were still heroes of faith. And, we don't always have to win the physical part to, win the faith part. So,
that's the awesome part about it. It really is.
So, I love hearing, the stories of people who approach it that way, like you guys do. And, that's why we do this podcast. And I love it so much because this is what we focus on most of the time is let's look at these stories and see, how people's faith has shown up and how God has shown up.
Yeah.
And to piggyback off of that, is there an instance, a specific instance maybe that you could give us about how God showed up in this part, or maybe how he spoke to you, or where you saw him, working? I think those can all go together if you've got an incident or, an example that you can pull out. And I know it's for a guy who is still in the middle of it, and you're the first person that we've really talked to that's kind of, obviously I still have maintenance chemo and I've got I go and get checked up all the time, but somebody who, is just right, and still going to be dealing with it, is there something that you can give us, maybe an instance?
Well, I mean, like there, as far as, watching the Lord take care of me and like, anything that I faced, and anxiety, a fear, any opportunity, where I basically, I was trying to, learn how to handle the situation, or I was in a time of worry or whatever. And basically God stepped in and basically took care of that situation. It was, those experiences for me personally have just been just awesome to have to, to be in a time where you experience, that anxiety, you experience that fear. Okay, well, what now, or what's going to happen next, or am I going to be okay? And then all of a sudden, God basically takes care of that situation, or he allows you to go through something that basically helps you to, I guess, understand or to know everything's going to be okay. One of the things, I started the treatment, and there was I just didn't know what the side effects were. I just didn't know what to expect. And then the side effects started to happen. And I got to a point where I didn't know what medicines to take. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, stuff that I should have been taking that would have helped me. I didn't know. And so there was a lot of anxiety in that moment. But then the Lord sent another Ewing fighter. And one day she just texted me out of the blue. She said, I want you to know, I'm from your hometown.
Oh, wow.
And I've got the same diagnosis. And that if there's any way that I can help you, you let me know. And so her and I basically I would text her every day, and I'm like, okay, is this normal?
Mm-hmm.
Is this what I'm going through normal? And so it was almost like at the right time, and I tell her this all the time. And right now, we live in the same town because I'm actually moved back home to my hometown because I found out I could get treated here locally. But she was somebody I believe that God put there at just the right time, to help me through those anxieties and fears. But also, and Travis, you probably relate to this a little bit, but I don't have the fear of dying, so to say, but I had the fear of the pains of death. this is not a disease that anybody would want to lose their life to, because of what you have to go through, at the end of, if you succumb to it, if, this is not this is not a way that you want to lose your life,
Right.
And so the pains of death was my biggest fear. And then I ended up in an ambulance, and I had a reaction to one of the medicines. And it caused me to have more pain than I had ever had in my whole entire life. And the EMT, he didn't know. I mean, he knew I was having a reaction. They had a helicopter on standby while they're trying to get me to Vanderbilt. We were in a 2.5 hour ride to Vanderbilt, and in the ambulance, and I'm having this reaction that is causing me more pain than I had ever been. And he starts, giving me some morphine, and he says, "Hey, we don't know if this is going to work or if you're going to have another reaction or not." But he gives me the morphine, and it helps a little bit, but then it comes back with twice the intensity. And I was literally screaming in this ambulance. And I was screaming. I was in so much pain, like screaming like I've never screamed before. And no joke, I was in so much pain, he had to give me a whole vial of morphine in order to calm it down.
Wow.
I quit breathing twice. I woke up twice to that solid beeping noise, and him shaking me, saying I've got to wake up and I've got to start breathing, because my breathing had got, I think I was at 8-9% on the breathing level or whatever.
Wow.
And he basically, had to wake me up twice, because, I was in so much pain. They were just trying to get me under control. But I went through that situation, and it was like after it, I thought, okay, that's what pain is like. I think I'm okay now. And so that pain, that fear that I had from that unfortunate situation, that ride that I had in the ambulance, that fear, it was like it went away. And then, like, after that, I mean, it was like I had a peace. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like, after that happened, I had this peace that whatever else happened or whatever else I went through or had to go through, hey, if it's the Lord's will, then put me through it. If it's going to accomplish whatever God wants to accomplish, I basically started praying that, guys. I started praying. I said, Lord, if there's something that you want to accomplish through this, I said, I'll go through it. I'll go through whatever you want to put me through, so that you can accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish.
So what do you think it is that he's accomplished to this date? I mean, where do you see him having, come to work, or, speaking to you or whatever? I mean, what is it that you've seen him show up in that way?
So there are a lot of things that I don't even know that have taken place, but at the same time, I know of families who have been brought closer. I know of marriages that have been brought closer. I know of people who have come back to the Lord. I know of people who have been baptized. I mean, it's just like everybody, and Travis gets, I know he gets this response too, but, everybody just, one of the things that they say to me is, man, you've inspired me to look at, my life a little bit differently, or, to look at the challenges that I'm facing a little bit differently. There's just, even things that I don't even know about, that's what's awesome. But, I mean, there's another aspect to this as well, is that I'm a youth minister. I was a youth minister at the Benton Church of Christ. And
that's in Kentucky, right?
That's right. That's in Kentucky. And, we, since the beginning of, January 2019 to the time that I went down, we the Lord was giving the increase and blessing the ministry there, when we had a little over 20 baptisms and from January to June. And we had atheists that we had converted. I mean, we just had some phenomenal things going on in the ministry there. And basically, I was able to tell the young people there, the teens, I said, what you're seeing is a direct attack from Satan, and he's trying to neutralize and stop what we've got going on here. And so those kids now, they understand now that if they're going to live their life for the glory of God, Satan's going to do whatever he can to basically stop that.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, we just think about every opportunity that I've had to be able to just help other people to look at, what you're going through in a different light. And I mean, it's been awesome just to see different people grow stronger, different people be challenged in different ways, and then churches growing stronger. And I mean, it's just, you think about the church there at Benton. I've had to step away for a time, but man, their faith is growing. Awesome. And then here I'm at Savannah Church of Christ now. I'm actually here in the youth minister's office.
That's cool.
Yeah, but the church here has got a lot of awesome things going on. I'm not saying it's related to me. I'm just saying that we're just seeing a lot of awesome things happen, and we're just thankful that the Lord can use our trials.
Well, I think people see. I mean, they hear the word cancer and they think worst case scenario, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's what when he told me, "Hey, you've got leukemia," you immediately go worst case scenario. And by the way you're handling and fear, no fear is kind of a word piece that you've been using and talking about. When people see that in their minds, you're dealing with a worst case scenario in their mind,
that's
in
right.
their perspective,
yeah.
And they see someone that they know is just a regular person outside of what God's done in their life, and they see that, then they are, because I get that. I get people who say that, and I just kind of go, well, I'm just a run-of-the-mill person that, whatever. But then the flip side is man, praise God, whatever it takes to get someone fired up about that relationship, then, and I think what maturity you've shown to some of the things that you've said, and I've said here, we sang the near my God to thee, even though it be a cross that lifteth me, near my God to thee. And it's difficult to say what some of the things that you've said, and to be bold to say, that God, whatever your will is, as long as people glorify you, then so be it. I mean, that's some strong and powerful stuff.
And what I love about this is that earlier in the podcast, you said, that the diagnosis was almost God's way of answering the prayer of how can I, help more people. And then at the same time, Satan's trying to use it as an attack. And it just shows us that, which one's more powerful. And Satan thinks, hey, I can bring him down with this, and God goes, well, let me take that and I'll raise you. This is what he can do with it. And so it's pretty cool to hear that.
It's been a learning experience for me. I didn't, I've had to go through the anxieties, the worries, the fears, the challenges that anybody with this diagnosis will have to go through. But at the same time, I had to learn through this that whatever God can do is so much more better than anything that I could face. And that's to me, like, it gives me chills to think about it. I love it. Like, it's seriously to think about what God can do, and about like how he can take any situation and basically create a bigger blessing, a bigger opportunity, a better thing. It's like, man, that's what I want to be a part of. I mean, and I want other people to be a part of it too,
just want to take a moment as we get ready to ask the final question to our guests to encourage you, if you are in the market or looking to create your own podcast, to look at Anchor. That's what we use. As you listen, you may be thinking, if these two guys can do it, then anybody can, and that's absolutely true with Anchor. The best part is it's free. There's plenty of creation tools that allow you to record, edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can also contact and have your guests on from different locations or right there in the room with you. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you. It can be on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You know, as we wrap up, we always kind of want to end on a little lighter note. So we got some questions for you. Number 2, what is your emotional movie, TV moment? Movie or TV moment?
Yeah, that's what's bad. I cry just about any kind of movie with a heroic ending or sentimental, whatever, man. I'm just a crier. So, yeah, I remember the first time I watched Air Bud. Yeah. And he's basically telling Bud to leave and stuff. Man, I cried like a baby. So I don't think I've ever been able to watch it again. So that was probably, yeah, that. And I mean, yeah, the latest, more modern, I guess, Endgame, man, it got to me. So, yeah, Iron Man and his heroic ending or whatever. So,
well, Nathan, we sure do appreciate you being with us, man. And brother, we hope to hear from you again sometime. Maybe we can have your wife on and she can give her journey through this. But I know, we talked about the Lord and how he moves, and I absolutely believe that, that my invite to exposure and us getting to meet each other was a blessing. Right. And I'm glad that we were able to work it out where you could be with us, and we hope to have you on again. And
I was just going to say that a good way to end is I had scans last month, and they were all clear. And, of course, the surgery removed the area that has had the tumor for who knows how long. And so I've had the hip replacement now. I'm up and I'm walking without crutches now. And here I am. I don't have any evidence of disease. So if there was ever any question, as the power of the Lord and his ability, I hope I'm a living, breathing miracle for everyone to see and
that's
everyone
awesome.
to see how awesome
really
God
great
is.
news.
So,